A devastating new poll has predicted that Rishi Sunak's heading for an electoral wipeout on the scale of the Tories' 1997 defeat at the hands of Tony Blair. The YouGov survey forecasts the Conservatives will retain just 169 seats, while Labour will sweep into power with 385, handing Sir Keir Starmer a thumping 120-seat majority. Now, according to this poll, every red wall constituency won by Boris Johnson in 2019 will be lost, and an astonishing 11 cabinet ministers will lose their own seats, including the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt. Well, the Tories will win 196 fewer seats than in 2019. That would be more than the 178 Sir John Major lost in New Labour's historic 97 landslide, which ushered in 13 years of New Labour government. Well, earlier today, a defiant Prime Minister insisted the Tories were the only party with a comprehensive plan for the country.
There have been lots of polls over the last year. There'll be hundreds more polls. The only one that matters is the one when the general election comes. And the choice of that election is clear. It's to stick with our plan that is working. It's delivering change for people, ensuring that they can have the peace of mind that there's a brighter future for their children, that we can have renewed pride in our country, or the alternative, which is Keir Starmer and going back to square one with him. He can't say what he will do. He's been leader of the opposition for 4 years now. He hasn't said what he'd do differently, and that's because he doesn't have a plan. So that's the choice. Stick with the plan that is delivering change, making a difference, or go back to square one.
OK, well, the forecast result would be the biggest collapse in support for a governing party since 1906, with an 11.5% swing to Labour. Experts predict it would all but guarantee Starmer's party at least a decade in government.
My message to every single Labour Party member, every single MP, every single candidate is ignore that poll. We have to earn every vote, respect every vote, and we should always, always fight.
Well, the former Brexit negotiator and Tory peer Lord Frost called the poll's findings stunningly awful, adding the only way to avoid defeat would be to toughen up on immigration and cut taxes. The only thing to say, I think, to what Lord Frost said there is, well, he would say that, wouldn't he? I mean, this is what he has wanted for a long time. This poll, while very significant, was commissioned by the right of the Conservative Party, knowing full well that the result would be stunningly awful. And the reason they wanted to stun people is to get them to act, because that wing of the Conservative Party wants the Conservative leadership to go further to the right. Quite rightly, they're very concerned about the effect that the Reform Party will have on their seats. And they're trying to bang a drum or, wave their hands around and say the only way to avoid this disaster is to swing further to the right on taxes and on immigration. Personally, I'm not entirely sure, because David Cameron managed to get a coalition of voters behind him, some in the middle and some on the right. And I just cannot see, if Rishi Sunak does what Lord Frost wants him to do, and go further to the right on taxes and immigration, that would turn around what's predicted by this poll.
Oh, look, there's a group of hard-right fundamentalist Brexiteers in the Tory party who will never be satisfied, whatever Rishi Sunak does. They're complete nut jobs. They want to cut taxes against all the laws of economic physics. They want to completely stop any kind of immigration, which no developed country in the world can live on that. You need immigration in your economy. And we've been a very successful country as well in terms of people coming to live here and becoming part of our country. So all of this is kind of absolutely, in my view, completely out of tune with the mainstream public opinion. But they will not stop whoever is leader until finally, it's like a revolution, it's like the Bolsheviks, until finally one of their own is in charge, and then they'll be left holding the proverbial baby, and we'll see how well they do. But unfortunately, they're not going to survive. All they're going to achieve in doing is constantly reminding the public that the Tory party is split and nobody votes for split parties, is that they're on a hiding to absolutely nothing.
I don't agree with you,
Good.
Lord Vaizey. I'm
That's
afraid.
what this is about.
Look, the Reform Party...
I would be worried if you ever agreed with me.
The Reform Party are going to take votes from the Tories. And I think, actually, the way... No matter what Sunak does, Tories are going to lose, OK? That's going to happen. Pretty much that's guaranteed. What Sunak can do is appeal to those voters who may go to Reform. So he's got to, in my opinion, stop sending money to Ukraine. that sends a big message to
Are you
those kind of supporters.
joking?
I'm serious.
You cannot stop sending money to
if
Ukraine.
Sunak turned around tomorrow and said, we're not going to send any more billions than we've already sent to Ukraine, we're going to stay out of the Israel-Gaza conflict, and we're going to, I'm going to step down, I'm going to let Boris Johnson, the man who you voted for initially to lead, they would get more seats than under Sunak.
Hold on, Boris Johnson won the Red Wall hands down. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, I think if Boris was still the leader and he had a lot of criticism, we wouldn't necessarily be in this mess. But the idea, Boris Johnson was Ukraine's biggest defender. The idea that Red Wall voters want us to get out of Ukraine is for the birds.
I think they do. And it's not so much Red Wall voters, it's reform voters. People who support reform are not happy that we're sending billions across and we don't know where it's going, we don't know who's taking it, where exactly is it being spent. The receipts aren't there. And it's those people who the Tories need to worry about.
Then you end up with this I mean, look, it happened really to a degree. And I was saying to Ed just before we came on air, watching David Cameron yesterday doing the media rounds, it was like the grown-ups were back. You know, the guy is incredibly slick, he's intelligent, he's not flustered, he's not stuck for an answer, there's no real cringe moments, and he's a great player. However, in order to succeed during his time in office, there had to be that nod to UKIP and that whole thing of a referendum bubbling away. And then Lord Frosty the No Man comes along and starts to tell us that, you know, this isn't, we've got to go this way and we've got to go that way. And then Rishi's going, stick with the plan, as if people are walking into pubs up and down the country going, are you sticking with the plan? I'm sticking with the plan. Like we know what that even means, you know? So I do think that could be an error, actually. I'm so stuck on where my political antennae is meant to be right now, because I can see I can see exactly what Ed's just said, but I think the problem, if you play to the reform gallery, then the next Tory administration in 2057, when they come back into power, will end up just doing the same thing.
But you joke, but they are calling this like an extinction event, and they are talking about decades, possibly even the destruction of the Conservative Party. And Daisy, you slightly you say, well, this poll was commissioned by, it was actually carried out by YouGov, and it was 14,000 people. It's not like they made up.
No, I wasn't dissing what the poll said.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the people who commissioned it knew perfectly well that it was going to, this would be the result.
Just to get back to the actual poll itself, I think the detail is really quite devastating for Rishi Sunak. And this is not the Guardian front page. This was the Telegraph. This
Yeah,
morning.
but it is.
And
it
the
is
photograph of Rishi Sunak, and they are talking about a wipeout.
Yeah, and and in some senses that is what some people weirdly in the Tory party want. But I still believe, funny enough, if the Tory party is
How
decimated,
crazy is that?
if the Tory
How
party is
crazy is
decimated
that?
the next election, the two-party system is strong enough. There will be a big bloodletting in the Tory party after the next election. They'll probably pick the wrong leader first, and they'll finally make their way back, just as we did with Hague, IDS, and then ended up David Cameron. But anyway, staying with politics now.